What's up and welcome to the video. So we are talking about this phone right here. This is the Honor Magic 4 Pro, and I've had my SIM card in it for the better part of 3, maybe even 4 weeks now. So we've got a lot of testing time in with this phone. And interestingly enough, this is actually the first Honor smartphone that we've had here in the studio, and for good reason. It's because Honor doesn't actually sell phones here in the United States. Now, shout out to Honor for sending us this phone to review and asking for our honest opinion over it. So with all that being said, let's get into it. Let's talk about the Honor Magic 4 Pro. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. When Honor first reached out and offered to send us this phone, we were definitely, excited to see what the phone is all about. But I actually didn't know too much about Honor as an actual company. So prior to the phone getting here, I actually decided to do some research and try to find out what they were all about. And here's what I essentially found. So Honor used to be a subsidiary of Huawei, where Huawei would manufacture high-end smartphones, like your flagship caliber Android phones, and then Honor would manufacture your more budget-level entry phones to try to appeal to a different customer base. And I'm sure some of you are aware that a couple years back, Huawei ran into some issues where they couldn't really sell phones here in the United States anymore, and they also stopped using Google's services and Google's apps on their smartphones. And when that happened, Honor essentially broke away from Huawei and kind of became their own standalone company. And this is their adventure into flagship smartphone territory. And I gotta tell you, there's a lot to like here whenever it comes to the Magic 4 Pro. When I first finished setting up the phone and I started using it, I definitely thought to myself that Honor took some inspiration from other smartphones that we've seen in the past. Like when you look at the display head on and you see the pill-shaped cutout on the top left, I immediately thought back to the Galaxy S10 Plus. Now I know that pill shape was on the top right and this one's on the top left, but you turn the device over and that giant circular camera system on the back reminded me a lot of the Nokia Lumia 1020. But as you start using the phone, you realize that they might have taken inspiration from other phones or other designs, but they've actually improved upon those designs and made them really good. So that front pill-shaped cutout actually houses a selfie camera and a 3D sensor for face unlock technology that is sophisticated and secure enough for you to use as, let's say, like payment authentication. And we're gonna get to the camera system on the back, but there are 5 different lenses in this camera system, and they all do something different that leads to a flagship quality camera experience. And of course, you still have what you would probably be looking for in terms of flagship level build and design. So you have the IP68 water and dust resistance rating, you have top and bottom firing speakers, which by the way, these are actual top and bottom firing speakers. So you have a speaker grill on the bottom of the enclosure and another speaker grill at the top. So it's not what we normally see, bottom firing and then combo microphone or earpiece and speaker in the display. It's actual top and bottom firing speakers. And you also get goodies like wireless charging, reverse wireless charging, and we'll touch on it again a little later, but wire charging speeds on this phone rated for 100 watts. So great looking phone and also well built. And Honor did a really good job of making sure that regardless of what aspect you're actually looking at this phone in, it's flagship all around. So if you're looking at it head on at the display, 6.8 inch LTPO OLED, HDR10 Plus certified, it's bright, it's punchy, it's saturated, reminds me of Samsung quality quite honestly. Ultrasonic fingerprint display built in, and it's also got that variable refresh rate anywhere from 1 to 120 hertz. So display quality is amazing. Now internally, it's also a flagship with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, which is what we've seen on all flagship Android phones for 2022, paired to 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage at the base configuration, which I think is definitely plenty generous. And as far as anything you want to do on this phone performance related, it's fantastic. No issues, no problems whatsoever. You want to multitask, have different apps open at the same time, go for it. 3D mobile gaming, go for it, it's fine. Because all that's paired to a 4,600 milliamp hour battery that even when I'm running this phone at maximum display resolution, at the forced 120 hertz refresh rate, all of the built-in settings enhancements like video enhancement tools, color enhancement tools, all the things that would increase your battery life, I'm still getting to the end of the day with like 45, maybe 40% battery life left over. And again, if you live in an area where you can actually purchase and use this device, it comes with a 100-watt charging brick inside the box. So if you're the type of person that burns through a lot of battery, this phone charges about as fast as you can take the battery down. So again, it's a flagship all around. Now, if we flip the phone over, which by the way, before we get into this spec monster of a camera system, they sent us the Magic 4 Pro in the cyan color. I didn't ask for this color, but it was the color I was low-key hoping for. It comes in 3, black, gold, cyan. And I just want to give you a heads up. If you're like me and you like to use your phone without any sort of case or any sort of skin for the majority of the time, the cyan color picks up fingerprints like nobody's business. Like, I clean this phone, the back of it, at least one time a day, because about halfway through the day, it's got so many fingerprint smudges on it that if you're like me and you like your phone clean, you might want to consider carrying around a microfiber cloth with you if you're going to own this phone. But all that aside, let's talk about this gigantic camera system, because there is a lot going on here. There are technically 5 lenses that you're going to see in the system, but 3 of them are used for photography, 2 of them are used to kind of enhance your photography results, if you will. So let's start right from the top. 50 megapixel wide angle lens, 50 megapixel ultra wide angle lens with a 122 degree field of view, and the option to take photos using super macro mode, which is dope. Now in the middle, you have a 64 megapixel periscope telephoto lens capable of 3.5 times optical zoom and up to 100 times digital zoom, which is not something that is necessarily new, but it's still just crazy to think that that is a capability on the smartphone. Now the other 2 lenses on the bottom are going to be a flicker sensor, which is supposed to help with reducing flicker when taking photos. It's actually one of those things where if it's doing its job, I can't tell, and if it's not doing its job, I can't tell, because I didn't have any problems with flickering as I was taking photographs with this phone. And the final one is going to be a 3D time of flight sensor. It's going to help with establishing better depth, so you have more realistic bokeh whenever you're taking portrait mode shots of this phone. All in all, in terms of camera performance, I gotta say, it's also flagship level. Photos look great regardless of which lens you're using or what type of photography you're trying to use. So I found the wide angle to be really reliable. It takes great photos. If you need the ultra wide angle for any reason, those photos look great, albeit slightly more saturated than the wide angle in my opinion. And when it comes to macro mode, I used it. I really enjoyed it. I still think macro mode is super dope and definitely underrated and should be on more flagship caliber smartphone systems. And in terms of the zoom capabilities, I tried it out inside my house, took a photo of a chandelier, zoomed in at 3.5 times, took another one, zoomed in at 10 times, took another one. I tested out the 100 times zoom, and it's just one of those things where when you're testing it like in an indoors environment, you really can't even see what you end up zooming in on. So it's great that it's there. Just, you know, and I've said this before, just don't be weird about it. It might not necessarily be like the best smartphone camera experience that you could possibly buy, but the way that I gauge it is, if this is the only phone that you're going to have in your pocket, which the majority of the people out there who are going to buy a smartphone, is going to be the only one in your pocket. Are you going to be worried that you're not going to get great photos, whether you're out during the day, whether you're out during the night, good lighting conditions, bad lighting conditions? This is a great camera system, and with all of the lenses, it's very versatile and very capable in all different types of photography. So again, I think Honor did a great job here. Not the best, but still very good. What took me the longest time to get used to with this smartphone was the software experience. Not that it was bad by any stretch of the imagination, but like I said at the beginning of the video, I don't have any experience with Honor smartphones, or at least I didn't prior to this one, and I've had no experience with Huawei smartphones either. So it might just have been a case of me getting used to this type of software, which, by the way, in case you're interested, is called Magic UI 6 on top of Android 12. And from what I've gathered, while Magic UI 6 is developed by Honor, there's still definitely some heavy Huawei impressions going on in terms of the look and feel of this particular software. It's still good. It might not necessarily be for everyone. It all kind of depends on what you're looking for, but I actually found it really feature-packed. It honestly, and I'm only referring to this just because of the type of smartphones we have here in the US, but it honestly reminds me a lot of how much Samsung packs in a ton of features to their Android experience that you might not necessarily find on other phones. So with the Magic 4 Pro, there's a whole bunch of things that you can dive into in the settings to turn on, to turn off, to change how the phone behaves, adjust your themes and colors and settings. But what I will tell you is that if you're someone who prefers a, let's just call it closer to stock Android experience, because I don't even know what stock Android would be considered anymore. But if you would like a software experience that is going to be more bare bones, more minimalistic, more of like, let's say, a Pixel type experience, I don't know if this is necessarily the operating system for you, because there is a lot going on here. At the very least, it is based on the latest version of Android, Android 12, but like I said, it definitely deviates from your standard Android 12 formula, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be great software, and I'm sure it appeals to a lot of folks who are actually in the market able to buy this particular smartphone. Normally at this part of the review, we basically ask ourselves, like, is this phone worth buying? But it's going to be tough for me to kind of piece that information together for you, because for where I live, or if you live in the United States, this phone is not available to buy, so I actually don't even know how much it would cost, because if you check Honor's website, purchasing in the United States is not actually an option for this phone. And obviously, depending on your geographic location, the cost of the phone is probably going to be different as well. So it's not necessarily, for me anyways, a question of should you buy it. It's more so like, can you actually buy this phone? If you're in a market or region where you can buy this phone and you're on the market for a new Android flagship phone, I think you should definitely give the Magic 4 Pro some serious consideration. It is a flagship caliber smartphone by every possible measure, and what's better is you get a 100-watt charging brick inside the box. So I mean, it checks all the boxes in terms of what you're probably looking for when it comes to a flagship Android smartphone. And at the same time, you get some absolutely ludicrous charging speeds. And while they're not here in the United States yet, I don't know if that's something that is going to happen in the future. I think it would be really cool to see what it would be like if this phone ended up actually hitting the United States. My T-Mobile SIM card is in this phone, and it works. I don't necessarily know if I've had 5G capabilities on it. I don't think I have. I think it's just been 4G anytime I've not been on Wi-Fi. But either way, calls and texts and things like that actually work. So this is clearly a global model that can support some of the, cell frequencies that we have here in the United States. So I think it would be really cool to see Honor make that transition. But again, I don't know if they actually will. I just figured I'd mention it. If you enjoyed the review, make sure you hit like and subscribe down below. Again, shout out to Honor for sending us this phone to review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.